final speaker for the day. When most people go on vacation with their dad, it is to a beach or a cabin in the woods. However, growing up the daughter of an adventurer, Anne Mary's vacation always looked a little different. In fact, she often didn't even know how different until she was there. Please help me welcome Anne Mary.
I was doing homework in my room on a random Thursday night, and my dad comes in. "Hey Annie, you want to go on a trip?" "Sure, Dad, what are you thinking?" "Well, I met this man who's an adventurer in the Arctic Circle." "Okay, what does that mean?" "He's leading a group of people to Russia this summer." "Okay, how long's the trip?" "A month." "Sure, Dad, sounds good." When you grow up the daughter of an adventurer, you don't really ask questions. My dad's very intelligent and very passionate, so there's no use arguing. Little did I know that he was invited to be the first civilian of a group of the first civilians on an island in the Arctic Circle called Wrangle Island. And he just so happened to invite his daughter along. We went to Wrangle Island. It's going to be hard to see, but I'll pass the globe. It's a little dot in eastern Siberia in the North Pole. It's actually relatively close to Alaska, but because it's separated by the international date line, you have to fly from Illinois 36 hours around the world to eastern Siberia to get to Wrangle Island. 36 hours of flying time. It's way out in the boonies. I'd like to share with you you can pass this around. I'd like to share with you some of my experiences on Wrangle Island as a 14-year-old. Specifically, what life was like in the Arctic Circle, some of the animals that I got to see and that inhabit the island, and just some of my thoughts as a 14-year-old. What was that like? First, life in the Arctic Circle is bizarre, period. One day we were in shorts, and the next day we were in a 3-day whiteout blizzard. We were stuck in this little hut, probably the size of 2 of those booths together, and it was heated by a gas grill. And we couldn't go outside of the hut, so I got blisters on my eyes and lost my eyelashes because there was nowhere to go for 3 days. The blizzard broke at 3 a.m. and we went outside and chopped wood and had a snowball fight because we were so excited to leave this tiny little hut. Life in the Arctic. Wrangle Island is totally tundra, so it's squishy moss, it's not grass. It's surrounded most of the year by packed ice. In the movies, when you see penguins jumping from one ice floe to the next and diving into the water and back onto the ice floe, that's Wrangle Island. That was my reality. I was standing on an ice floe admiring the different shades of blue and seeing the gray whales and spotted whales going in and out of the ice floes. In the Arctic Circle in July, it was also 24-hour sunlight. It's pretty hard to go to sleep as a 14-year-old living on an exotic island. What was some of the animals that we got to see? Wrangle Island is known primarily for having the highest density of polar bear dens in the world. National Geographic actually did an entire edition magazine on the polar bears of Wrangle Island. And almost every image that you see of polar bears was taken on Wrangle Island. I personally did not see a polar bear, but the rest of the group did. In addition to polar bears, it has the largest population of walruses in the world. Walruses, whales, Arctic foxes, there's over 100 diverse bird colonies on this island. Additionally, the most bizarre sight are woolly mammoth tusks that are literally lying around on the island. As a 14-year-old, I picked one up. It's bigger than myself, and they're so heavy. Because it's the Arctic Circle, everything is perfectly preserved And we were the first people on this island other than scientists, so nothing has been touched. Last, reindeer. I thought reindeer were just fictional Christmas characters. However, as a 14-year-old on Wrangle Island, we had them 3 meals a day. I ate reindeer 3 meals a day. Muskox is similar to a bison. They were also on that island, and that was also food that we would eat for our meals. So what was it like as a 14-year-old being on Wrangle Island? When we flew into Pevek, Siberia, it was a fully functioning airport, and there was no running water. Can you imagine an airport without running water? I stood in line for 3 hours that day signing autographs because the people had never seen an American citizen. They asked me if I knew Michael Jackson. A little bit of a sad reality of American pop culture. I lived on Wrangle Island for 2.5 weeks without running water or electricity. I got very comfortable using an outhouse, and the words low maintenance mean something very different to me than most Americans. In 2.5 weeks, I took 1 sponge bath. Now, every time I take a hot shower, I'm so grateful to have running water. Literally, I'm always so grateful still to this day. It was very eye-opening as a 14-year-old, seeing that I could do without many amenities that we have in the United States, as well as the majority of the world doesn't have those same amenities. My favorite memory from Wrangle Island is when I taught the Russian scientists how to play my favorite card game, Nutsy from back home, Illinois. It's a kind of a spin-off of solitaire. And it was in that moment that I realized that all humans are the same. We're made for each other, made for friendship, made for joy. We all like the same things, no matter where we grew up or what our culture is. Wrangle Island. It's a little hidden gem. Most of you have probably never heard of it, and it's always a little bit hidden on the map because it's up in the crevice, whether the map is a long, flat map or it's a round globe like that. Next time when you look at a map, I encourage you to find little Wrangle Island. Just think to yourself, I have a friend who went there. That's pretty crazy.
Wow. What it must have been like to grow up in your household, Anne-Marie. What an adventurous father and adventurous family. Anne-Marie's speech topic, her purpose was to research her topic, which I think she did very well. Most of us have never heard of Wrangle Islands. We learned firsthand from a 14-year-old's eyes what it was like to be on a plane for 36 hours and landing in the Arctic and living there. Anne-Marie's points that she wanted to get across today were life in the Arctic, the animals that she encountered and learned about, and thoughts from a 14-year-old. Now, this was not your typical research project because she experienced this very unique trip hands-on. But it was still well researched. We learned a lot about the population of polar bears, walruses, the temperatures in the Arctic, the amount of daylight, and the amount of darkness. She gave excellent examples of her experiences. Blisters on her eyelids. 36, I can't even imagine being on an airplane. You, John, lived for 36 hours.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of props, so I got pretty excited when you pulled out your globe and you showed us exactly where Wrangle Island is, and it's hard to find on the map and on the globe. That was pretty cool. And I loved seeing your pictures. The visual props to me were very, very important, seeing polar bears and walruses. And I think it was a little bit unexpected to see the gigantic woolly mammoth tusks that were laying around perfectly preserved. If you were to give a speech again, however, because of the topic of research your topic, maybe put in a few more stats about Wrangle Islands and about the daylight versus the nighttime and the intense temperatures, just a few things like that. I would also have liked to have seen some pictures of you and your dad and how you looked up on the Love in your parkas and what exactly you were doing on the island for research. I could have missed that part because I was so enamored by the animals and the show props. So I think it would have been interesting to learn a little bit more about the intent of the trip. As far as your organization, I really believe you did hit the 3 points well. You went over the highest density of the polar bears. That had to be for some research. The largest population of walruses. I can picture these penguins jumping from ice float to ice float. That was such a wonderful visualization, and the pristine island, how everything was preserved because it was so cold. You were very animated. I love seeing that. And especially now too, I think that's something for us all to remember when you come up to the stage, and maybe we're all a little bit nervous. I still get nervous. But you just paused for a moment and smiled. And that really set the stage, I think, for your entire speech. Very engaging, very educational, very fun. I loved it. And I loved your humor. Using an outhouse, having a snowball fight. Just the whole thing, as far as seeing from the eyes of a 14-year-old, was a very unique speech. And I loved it. I'd like to see more just like this.